All right. Shalom, shalom, shalom. This is Brother Kahleial with the King James Bible University in the house of the Lost Sheep of Israel. And today's teaching is titled The Hurt Child, A Mind in Captivity. My brothers and sisters, we're going to be going through a story today about a young child and things that he went through. And when you look at this story on what is being taught today, look and see if you see yourself in it. You know, in the first part of the beginning of the series introduction, you know, it's understandable that not everybody may be able to relate to this particular series that's going on, but if you are, then it's my hope that somebody will be richly edified and will seek after Jehovah to be healed, to be transformed, to be able to overcome and get through the things that they have experienced, because the things that we went through in our past, these things can try to come back to haunt us and to weigh heavy on our minds, and we feel guilty and we beat ourselves up over these things. And that's something that I used to do literally continuously. Anytime I would record a lesson about the things I had done in the past, I would literally, it would be like I was self-destructing. I would speak so harshly and all these things, but you know, that's something that doesn't have to happen. You know, beating yourself up and doing all that doesn't have to happen. But what should happen, that would help a whole lot, is understanding what happened and understanding what to do moving forward from that point, and recognizing that we are all covered in this sinful flesh. And no matter who you are, regardless if you went through something like that or not, all have fallen short. All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of the Most High. So, regardless of the fact, it's not for anybody to make fun of nobody based on nothing that they went through, and it's not for somebody to feel superior to anybody because they did or did not go through something. No, it's all about understanding what needs to happen and removing those things that have been built up over time, and then coming into an alignment with the ways of Jehovah, supplanting those things of the flesh, and then seeking for that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to be put in place of those things that were removed. So with that being said, we won't waste a lot of time here. We're going to get straight into it. And we're going to start with 3 verses. I'm going to get all that ready. We already got one. Let's do this. And then let's do Jeremiah 50 and 8. Okay, so we're going to go through these. It reads, and let me fix one thing. All right, we got everything ready. We see Genesis 6:5, Genesis 12:1, and Jeremiah 50 and 8 on the screen. We're going to read these as such. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. This is every last male and female. The wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Is the condition that we are all brought into this world. We have these problems with these evil thoughts, these ways of thinking, and all these things. All flesh has problems. So we see Genesis 12:1. It says, "Now the Spirit of God has said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee." Recognizing that, we're gonna look at something real quick. Let's get something. Let's see if we can get that situated. Okay. Country. Land, nation, region, borders, coast, place, region, realm, right? But we're going to look at, we see country, we're going to look at land real quick. Right here. This earth, this ground, but we see here government, rule, people, nation, right? We see government, rule, and nation. We're going to look at nation real quick, and we're going to get a couple of pieces on that, on what we're actually looking at as it pertains to this. Nation is going to be customs, culture, government, people, powers, their kind. So the country is showing more than just a physical place you gotta, one is leaving. It's showing a way of life that one is leaving. The ways that they're living, the customs that they are practicing, the culture that they have, the government, that government being what? The authority of that place, the order of that place. So the way that everything is set up, right? It says what? Out of thy country. So out of thy what? It went right back to it. Thy nation, out of thy land, out of thy government. So it's everything that's pertaining to where we came from, what we was into, what we was doing, who we was rolling with, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee. So we're going to be shown this other way, this other land, where there's going to be these different customs, this different culture, this different way. Goes right back to it. This just new government. All this, we seeking to be brought unto this land that will be shown unto us. But we have to be first removed from this country, which we saw what that was encompassing. This is encompassing ways of where we're at. These ways that we also have within that. So those inward customs, those inward powers that we chose to hold on to, that's not of Jehovah. These inward things, because we have to always remember there's only one way for us to be going. Jeremiah 50:8 says, "Remove out of the midst of Babylon, and go forth out of the land of the Chaldeans, and be as compared to the he-goats in the presence of the flocks." So be as the he-goats before the flocks. Why? Because that he-goat, that goat gonna go somewhere else. It's gonna go where it want to go. It ain't gonna go where everybody else going. So go forth out of the land of the Chaldeans. So that nation. So the customs. Let's go back to that. Right there, these powers, these customs, this culture, go forth out of the land, the custom, the cultures, the government of the Chaldeans. What is that talking about? Chaldean. Right there. Out of the land, the customs, the what? The customs of the covenant breakers, the adversaries, the truce breakers. So they're going against the ways of Jehovah, leading life in a whole nother way outside of his covenant. We have to remove, it says go forth, remove out of the midst of Babylon, out of the midst of confusion. We see that. confusion, Babylon. And go forth out of the land, the nation, the custom, the government of the Chaldeans, these covenant breakers, these truce breakers. Why? Because it's going to be a whole another way of doing stuff. They not going to want to submit to the power of Jehovah. They're going to be going off of something else completely. So we see these 3 verses starting off the teaching. So with these 3 verses that we see, I'm going to start reading the story. And the story is going to be interwoven throughout the teaching. So let's begin. There was a child named David born into a people of confusion, into a family who knew not the way of truth. This was a house that was divided against itself, for the parents of the child were separated from one another, and the child would go to and from his mom and dad. The house of his mom was in disorder with the ways of the world, the customs and traditions of the Chaldeans, and the house of his dad was void, for that house was joined unto the Gentiles. For his dad enjoyed to mingle himself amongst the heathens. His dad joined himself to a Gentile who had a son. So we see this child David, his mom and dad went out together. His mom's house had a whole bunch of confusion and a lot of chaos going on there. And his dad's house, his dad was getting into relationships with Gentiles. So we see these things. We hear these things. This was the environment David was in, and there were perversions that he was exposed to that he understood not, but rather took as normal. David enjoyed spending time with his dad, and he enjoyed learning new things. He was a child with a curious mind and needed guidance. Then one day, when David was at his dad's house, he and the Gentile were watching a movie that had adult scenes in it in the living room. So they was in the living room watching that. And David's dad told him to stay put in his room. But David, being the curious child he was, peeked around the door, and the Gentile son did too. The child's mind understood not what it was that he had seen, but things took a turn in the wrong direction. Unsupervised, the children tried to replicate what was seen on the television. See, this is the direction that this is going. So now we're going to look at something real quick. Because children, they like to copy things. They like to imitate things. They like to mimic things. Let me check something real quick. Okay. Sorry about that. I was trying to see, make sure that was audible. But children replicate things. They copy things that they see. They're not even considering what they're doing. But it says here in Proverbs 22:15, hey, foolishness is bound in the heart of a child. This is clear. Foolishness, this folly, these things that just ain't right. Why? Because we see children getting into all type of stuff that they shouldn't be getting into. And then when you look and when you see what they got into, he's like, how did you do this? You ever seen a young child sit there unsupervised and tore open a bag of flour, or they made this huge mess, or they just tore up something real bad because they not considering that they doing, they just doing stuff, not recognizing what's going on. This is what happened to this child David here. Child David saw something, wasn't knowing what he was sitting there looking at, what he was doing, and the next thing you know, he started getting into stuff he shouldn't have been doing, being foolish. Because why? That's it, bound in the heart of a child. So back to the story. After a period of time, the folly that was wrought was discovered, and then punishment came to the children. But David had no understanding. He knew he had done wrong, but had no depth of understanding. He was gripped with fear, confusion, regret, and sorrow, but no understanding. He was sent away to his grandmother's house, but on the way back he felt coldness and the volume of the silence in the car ride. He became a stranger to his own dad, and from that point, everything changed. He arrived, and he was gripped with fear. His mom wasn't there yet, but the family members that were there spoke to David and asked him questions, but David was choked up. He was choked up. After all, he was only 5. He didn't know what to say. He had no real answer. And then his mom came. He was taken to where his mom stayed at and was interrogated by her boyfriend. He was pressed with hard questions and was scared out of his mind. Any answer he gave, he was constantly and consistently told not to lie. And pressure was on him that he couldn't bear. David ended up almost agreeing to everything, even things that he did not do. Then it got worse. He was taken into a dark room by his mom. and she began to smite him as if he were a thief. He was beaten in the corner of the room and wept. He lay there broken in his heart, and his understanding failed him utterly. He began to believe he was evil, that he was hated, that he wasn't loved. From that point, he never spoke to his dad. He didn't speak to his dad anymore for years. But in that very moment, while all that was going down, he began to hate his life. David, filled with darkness and corruption, these things began to plague his mind from that day forward. Then said David, let's go here, second Idris. We're seeing with this child, what was going on within this child. What was going on within this child that was going through these things? And then, let me see here. We're going to read these. 2 Idris 12 and 5. Psalm 69 and 3. Psalm 69 3 A and B. Psalm 69 20. Which reads, Lo, yet am I weary in my mind, and very weak in my spirit, and little strength is there in me, for the great fear wherewith I was afflicted this night. I am weary of my crying, my throat is dried. Reproach have broken my heart, and I am full of heaviness. And I looked for some to take pity, but there was none. And for comforters, but I found none. Let's keep reading. Let's go to Jeremiah 10 and 19. Which reads, we're going to read A and B. Woe is me for my hurt. My wound is grievous. His mind was in a daze from that point. Confusion had a hold, and pride began to bloom in him. It was as if something in him switched. He became loathsome. His understanding was evil. He felt this emptiness, and sick thoughts would take a hold of his mind. It was as if something had a hold on him, and he had no defense against it at this time. He was a young child with no understanding. All he knew was that something happened, and then he had no explanation for it. He went through something to where he didn't see his dad for years and years and years after that, and then began to form his own beliefs in his mind. Now, the thing about it is, this is what should have been understood, but was not by this child. And go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 9, verse 14. It reads, wait a second. That's not the right spot to start. So it's Sirach 30 and 23. Now let's go to Wisdom of Solomon over here, 9 and 14. And on here, let's go to Sirach 3 and 24. Let's read these. It says, love thine own soul and comfort thy heart. Remove sorrow far from thee, for sorrow hath killed many, and there is no profit therein. And this was the condition of this child David. He didn't do this. The sorrow was deeply embedded in there. He had depression. He had this loneliness, this feeling of inadequacy, these feelings of confusion that he couldn't understand. Nobody was there that was able to give him the understanding because of the conditions of the house that he was in at the time. Wisdom of Solomon 9:14, for the thoughts of mortal men are miserable. We see these things, and our devices are but uncertain. We see these things. Sirach 3 and 24, for many are deceived by their own vain opinion. This child was deceived by his own vain opinion, his own vain thought. And an evil suspicion have overthrown their judgment. This is what happened. Let's go to Sirach 14 and 5. It says, he that is evil to himself, we're going to read right here to B. Read right here to B. He that is evil to himself, to whom will he be good? This is what happened. See, David, what he should have did, even as a child, was to seek understanding from the situation, but he didn't. And those around him didn't understand that the young man was deeply confused. The conditions of both of their households played a factor in the way that the child thought. In an environment of confusion where it was all the practices and customs of the world, where there was dysfunction in the household, with no understanding, both of the parents being separated, yet the child quite literally was influenced by both houses, even though the houses was divided. All these things played a factor and a role in it, to where the child couldn't feel like he could speak with his mom. The child couldn't even speak with his dad. All these things play a factor in it. He was to seek understanding from the situation, but he didn't. And those around him didn't understand that the young man was deeply confused. In some families, a child is punished for something and just told that what they did was bad without them understanding why what they did was bad. A child is to be trained up in the way that he should go. So after discipline, the child has to be instructed in the right way. David's child mind was miserable, and his own thoughts and opinions on what happened deceived him. And in his vulnerable child mind, he actually got worse after everything happened to him. The conditions of his mom and dad's house also played a part, because he was in an environment of confusion. David understood this not. Instead, his desires became evil. He became crafty, deceitful, and did things in secret. The event that took place did a few things to him, and there's 4 points. His beliefs were corrupted. He dwelled in confusion. He developed an appetite. He began to chase pleasure. See, people who going through something like this, does this sound familiar to you? After you going through something that was traumatic, especially if it was something to where sexual things was happening, you start to have this type of mindset and belief that's real corrupt. And then you're confused a lot of the times about things that's actually going on in your life and around you, even long after that. You develop an appetite, because now whatever bodily pleasure that you received, now all of a sudden your body starts to feel things that you won't quite understand. And now all of a sudden you start wondering, now I'm trying to feel that again, because that's what your body, that's what the flesh wants. And now you begin to chase the pleasures, because if you're not getting it there, you're going to try to figure out something else to try to cover up the emptiness, to try to feel as if you have some type of control. Because even when these situations happen and you feel like you have absolutely no control, people start to chase control. People start to chase these things to try to make them feel stable and secure, and it doesn't actually work. So now with David, even though he went through what he went through, he still made the wrong decisions moving forward after that. When a child is disciplined, they need to be given the understanding on where they went wrong in order to help them to make wise choices moving forward. These things show issues with his heart and with his desires. Let's look. 1 Corinthians 13 and 11. We're going to read down to here. What's highlighted. Go back to Proverbs 22 and 15. We see that. And then we're going to get Luke 6, 11. A. It says, when I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. Proverbs 22, 15, 8. Foolishness is bound in the heart of a child. Luke 6, 11. And they were filled with madness. What is madness? Filled with madness. Confusion. This rage. This folly. This delusion. This is exactly what we've been talking about the whole time. This event took place, and madness was in this child. This confusion. Full of rage. Just anger. This all these stuff. Folly, foolishness, and delusion. Why? Deceived by his own understanding. Deceived by, quite literally, the thoughts that would come to his mind. We already learned through the Destiny series how Satan will sit there and whisper to you. And then you'll sit there and think that that's what you're thinking. And that's what you want. And that ain't even what the case is. That's something that you choosing to take a hold to, and you don't have to listen to that thought that popped up. But with no truth, no wisdom, no knowledge, no understanding, a child is just going to just roll with what is going on, providing that he does not have any strength within him. So based on what happened, the child, based on what happened with the child, when the confusion took place, his flesh desired to feel the feelings that it felt before. And this is to where I speak to those who may have been taken advantage of in their youth. As I said, will be spoken in this teaching, last teaching. The sad reality is that when someone takes a drug, it opens something up within them, and they begin to crave whatever it was that they took. Because once you done opened up a door into something, meaning what? Hear what I'm saying carefully. Once you done experience something, and you now have that experience, that very experience then can then start to influence your mind, because now your body reacts certain ways to things. Your body starts to feel certain things towards certain situations and things that's actually going on. So for an example, one who smokes weed, now a door has been opened up. Now they can start developing certain cravings to get high. Why? It depends on what went down when they started smoking. Did they start smoking to try to mask and cover up stress? Then they can become dependent on marijuana to try to remove the stress and the pressure and the things that they may be experiencing. But this is now an outward thing to try to deal with an inward issue, and then that outward thing becomes a dependent thing that they rely upon, and then that very thing that they rely upon becomes what they choose to have govern and run and rule and influence their decisions and choices in life and what it is they want to do. So this is the danger. Our body feels sensations and is stimulated by things, and this is what one can feel in an intimate moment. But the problem is that when corrupt things happen and one feels those things, their body starts to react to that sensation. So we're going to use an example because it's very clear. I mean, how many people here is a ticklish person? You might get your foot tickled. You might sit there. Somebody might try to tickle your armpit being weird. You know what I mean? All these things go on, but guess what? Somebody can tickle your foot and you feel the sensation of it. And it tickles. And it can also be very overstimulating. Even though you may not enjoy it, that's how it makes your body react. Your body reacts to the stimulation in this way. Involuntarily, it can just happen like that. So when one is taken advantage of, their body starts to react to the stimulations that they feel. And the physical body might feel this pleasure from this thing. It might feel these sensations from this thing. It might feel these things from that. But to the physical body, it might feel some type of pleasure. It might feel these types of things. But in your heart, in your mind, it doesn't feel good at all. Because it's unwelcomed. You don't want this to happen. But your body feels this. But you inside don't want this to happen. And it's happening to you. It's a real dark thing. It's a sick thing to experience something like that. But this is what happens to people. In David's case, he got into something that he shouldn't have got into. But then, based on the certain types of activities was happening, what did his body do? Exactly what's being spoken of here. So when one has gotten taken advantage of, those feelings could happen, but it's unwelcomed, just like that tickled foot. So that doesn't mean all of a sudden you are this way or that way because somebody took advantage of you. Whether you are a female that was forced, because that should never happen. A person who does something like that is no different than a murderer. Whether you was a child that was taken advantage of, doesn't matter what the circumstances might be. Even if you was like David, in a situation where he didn't know what the heck he was doing. When these things happen, your body might feel one way, but it's about what your heart and your mind has actually got going on. Will you? Because we're gonna keep reading. We're gonna keep reading this. Let me see this. So yes, so then confusion can set in based on something like that. And then one can start to question what they actually like or what they are. So when you have a child who is young, who experiences something like that, and they have no idea how to deal with that, then confusion can start to set in really bad for that child, because foolishness is in the heart of that child. So for those who were abuse victims that could have had something like that happen, it can pollute the mind and make them think, a person can start to believe that whatever took place was okay, and then they start to do those activities more because they was manipulated. Or it can make them close off and shut down and start moving with intense fear, because that feeling of that loss of control, somebody took advantage of them and made them feel completely powerless. So now what they believe is that if they have control over every circumstance and instance in their life, that they can have some type of peace from that. And neither one of them things bring peace at all. But I hope somebody truly understands what's being said. I'm being so serious, because you have people who get taken advantage of, and then you have women who start to whore themselves out to try to make themselves feel like they have power, because they call it like they taking back their body, and that is not good. That is really bad, because now you add wickedness on top of this hurt, this trauma, this pain that you have, and it ain't actually doing nothing good for you. It makes everything actually significantly worse. Same thing with you know, a child that might go through them things. Same thing if a young man was even taken advantage of by another male. Why? That young man might sit there and start questioning, do he like females? All these things will come up. Why? The confusion is there. They had this thing happen and it corrupted their mind. And then the person who got taken advantage of, deep down, they don't like it. But then when something happened, they try to sit there and these influences come about. Now they starting to question, well, what if I did? Don't do that. That is literally wicked. That's not of the Most High. And that's that devil. That's the devil. That is Satan trying to get you to go somewhere in your heart and in your mind that's real wicked. It will not at any point make you feel true satisfaction, because that dark feeling, that is going to be there. And thinking that by doing that to yourself will make you feel better does the opposite. Makes you feel worse and more confused and more out of your mind. And they were filled with madness. That madness can stay within a person for years. And they start doing things in the dark. They start moving around and doing these things, thinking that these things are okay. An abuse victim might try to sit there and get somebody, well, they might get older and then try to do some of the things that was done to them in that situation. Or even worse, they start to abuse other people. It's an evil thing. So these situations can cause perverted thoughts to creep into a person's mind. For an example, if a young man was abused by a male, then corrupted thoughts of homosexuality can plague his mind. Satan do not care. Why? Well, this happened to him, and now all of a sudden, random flashbacks have happened to what went down with him. And then all of a sudden, he start to question, okay, well, maybe if I should go ahead and do this or do no. Because that confusion was put there. That confusion was put there. But I'm telling you right now, I'm being so serious. You don't gotta be like that. You don't have to do that at all. Because with the young child David he's not a homosexual at all. No, he don't want nothing to do with that. And so it's clear as day. So that very person doesn't even have to be into that sort of thing at all. But because that event took place, it has easier access to try to influence the mind. Literally. That's all. That's it. So we're going to see something real quick. Let's go over here. Let's keep running. Let's go to Sirach 20. I hope somebody understand what I'm saying. If you've experienced this, you don't need to put nothing in the chat. You don't got to do none of that. But always remember that it's a way through that. You have to have hope, and you cannot beat yourself up because beating yourself up keeps you in a certain type of mindset and position where it becomes increasingly difficult to move forward. It becomes real difficult to move forward because then you start to just give in to the flesh. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Because we're going to see something about this. Let's look at these verses right here together. It says right here, Sirach 23:16. It says 2 sorts of men multiply sin. I'm going to jump right here. It says a hot mind is as compared to a burning fire. It will never be quenched till it be consumed. You going through a situation like that and your mind is all over the place. You start to have all these crazy thoughts come in, and then you got this thought coming in, this thought coming in, that thought coming in, that all these thoughts is coming in, and you just sitting there looking at them. Sometimes it might be real horrible thoughts coming in, you trying to fight them off, but then you think everything is going all right. You think things might be getting better. Boom, you get barraged with more thoughts. This hot mind going from this place to that place is as compared to a burning fire. You know, a burning fire, it just keeps on increasing and growing and growing. It gets worse and worse. When you start to reflect on your past and the things that you went through and all these different things and all these evil, wicked thoughts. Oh yeah, you this. Oh yeah, you really like this. Oh yeah, you want to get into that. You want to do this. Yeah. Ain't nobody home. Hey, turn on this video and watch this real quick. Oh yeah, dude, a hot mind. It has this burning fire, a burning fire that's just all over the place. It'll never be quenched till it be consumed. And then right here it says a fornicator in the body of his flesh will never cease. He ain't gonna stop till he have kindled a fire. Why? He keep trying to get into something. He keeps trying to get into something. He's trying to get into these certain situations and things to do what fornicators do. But we not gonna look at just that as a fornicator based on what we physically know a fornicator is. Like I say, because a fornicator, yeah, it's a whore. They're a prostitute. They're gonna sell themselves to be getting into stuff, practicing unfaithfulness. But here's the deal: fornication is what we need to see, because a fornicator is going to be doing fornication, and we need to see what this fornication is all about. We're going to stop right at this first one. Forbidden practices, as you see on the screen. You doing stuff that you should not be doing. You doing stuff that just ain't right. You're doing stuff that's just not good. So, a fornicator, this one that commits forbidden practices in the body of his flesh, will never cease till he have kindled a fire. So we have to stop doing forbidden practices. If you are in the dark watching videos that you should not be watching because all of a sudden a door got opened up within yourself to where now you felt something or you experienced something, you gotta stop. Because the same thing is, these things develop all these other, it makes all these different problems. All these different problems. And I want to even illustrate something about this verse that is actually, wow. When you look at these, you know, a colon is clarifying something. It's bringing clarification. So you know, both of these things actually run together. The hot mind and this fornicator in the body of his flesh. Both of these things run together. Why? Because you can be in a situation. You can be in a situation where something has happened and this affects your mind, and now you having these actions come from it. It says a hot mind. This hot mind, this mind is burning. It's burning. You have all of these things coming into your mind, and your mind is on, it feels like your mind is on fire. All these thoughts, all these things, all this confusion. But we have to remove from that way of doing stuff. We have to stop the forbidden practices. All this stuff. Why? Because that's going to be showing what we really getting into. So to anybody that may have experienced that very thing, they could become addicted to those things. That's what happened to that young child David. After that experience, he was addicted to pleasure. He then began to watch certain videos of all kinds. Watching videos to try to reflect certain things that happened to him. Watching videos of males and females fornication. Watching videos of these abominable people who change themselves to be something that they not. All these things come about. This is what happened. Why? Because all it took was that piece of corruption, and it spread, and it got worse. See, I've had conversations with people who they quite literally have gone through something like that, and then based on that confusion that was there, they tried to experiment with doing certain things that was just wrong. They would experiment with, okay, for an example, a young man has something like that happen. Now he gonna call himself trying to experiment doing stuff with other males, based on what happened when he was a kid, based on that confusion. Same thing with females. Females have done the same thing. I've had conversations with people where these things came up, and these are the things that happen. But it goes back to it. The flesh, your body, experienced something, and then all of a sudden, this appetite is there. This itch is there. This feeling is there. You can't quite explain it, but you feel this feeling. 1 Peter 2:11, right here. See down. Abstain from fleshly lust, which war against the soul. Your mind is telling you no, but physically, I ain't trying to say that one song, but your mind is telling you no, but quite literally, physically, your body is telling you something else. All this is happening. All this is happening. They war against the soul. In your mind, you're like, man, I ain't even trying to. But then all of a sudden, it feels like all of a sudden now, oh, you got to cut on this video. You got some people who's strong enough that these things might come to their mind, but no matter what, they don't do it. That's great. Because no matter what, they're not going to go and they're not going to put themselves in that. But then they still might watch a video or something. Whatever the case might have been. Young David's case, he was still a child. And he kept doing stuff. Until understanding came, and he didn't do that stuff no more. But the videos was a problem. All these things come up. Because a child going through those things, they don't have the understanding on what's going on. But then once you hit a certain age and you start to realize what stuff is, you're like, wait a minute, whoa, this ain't it. Wisdom of Solomon 9:15. So it goes back to this hot mind that we're looking at. For the corruptible body presseth down the soul, and the earthly tabernacle weigheth down the mind that museth upon many things, that meditating on many things. This hot mind, this burning mind, going all these different places. That's a devastating combination. You got this hot mind, your mind burning. It's going to all these different things. And then the earthly tabernacle going to weigh down the mind that museth upon many things. So now you got all these thoughts coming in, all these thoughts coming in, all these thoughts coming in. Now your flesh starts to press down on you, and you feel this weight. These thoughts come in, these thoughts feel heavy to you. Everything feels heavy to you, and then you just start to fold. Even if you don't want to do it, you fold. It's a terrible thing. So what needs to happen from that point? How can one start to move around knowing that stuff is there? Sirach 21:2. Flee from sin as compared to from the face of a serpent. For if thou comest too near it, it will bite thee. You got to get away from it. You can't put yourself in these types of situations where you know certain things that happen, where you know that you can get into stuff. See, pornography, that's something that's real difficult for some people. But you got to make sure that you're doing what needs to be done to separate yourself from it. You cut off the areas where that's there. You have to starve that. So these are the things that the flesh wants to get into. All this explanation is showing this is all what the flesh wants to get into. And those war against the soul. And this war kicks in at a very young age for people, but it can be worsened when these things happen. The corruptible body will press down the soul, and this vessel we are in weighs down our mind and thinketh upon many things. If we sitting there thinking about all this stuff, we gotta calm. We have to start to meditate on the word. Slow down. Don't let these things overwhelm you. We can get caught up not being focused on what's important. So for a child, this is exceptionally hard because they're not even developed in the mind to perceive certain things with a strong understanding. When they're not taught, these factors negatively add to the situation that a child goes through, because then they won't have the understanding that the sin is going to bite them. And as a serpent contains venom that will poison the one who is bitten, when a child gets into those things or are subject to them, that poison runs rampant in that vessel. A child that has no understanding and is left to himself is just going to do what he wants to do. Ephesians, because the fight ain't with other people. It says, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities. There we go. Against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. It's a spiritual battle, but I'm going to add something to it for further clarification purposes, because it ain't we fighting against other people. It's 100% a war within ourselves, a war with this flesh and its desires, and a war with all these forces that's there. But the only way to win the battle is to be transformed in our mind, giving our heart, giving our mind to the Most High. We have to meditate, and we have to study, and we have to seek the Most High. Let's look at something. Let me get this real quick. I'm gonna pivot. Romans 7:22. It says, "For I delight in the law of God after the inward man." 23. But I see, here it goes. But I see another law in my members, warring against the law of my mind, and bringing me into captivity to the law of sin, which is in my members. This is exactly, we're not saying nothing crazy. Your body feels something. Y'all should see it right here. Your body feels something. You have this type of experience. Your body feels something. The next thing you know, you might not even want to do it. You don't even want to do these things. All these things, all of a sudden, it's like you can't even get away from it. Because this is an internal battle. You know you don't want to do it. You know something. You might even know something is wrong. This ain't even right for me to be doing this. I don't even want. But the next thing you know, this happens right here. Another law. There's another law in the members warring against the law of your mind. The body like, nah, this feel good. Hold on, wait a minute. We gotta do that. Hold on, wait a minute. We gotta either do this or do something like it. I need to get something right now. Hold on, wait a minute. I need to see what's going on. How do I get more of this? I want more of this. I like this. That law in your members. The flesh want that stuff. Not you. You sitting there thinking to yourself, man, I don't want to do none of this. I don't want to. But you can't consent to that. You can't consent to what your body is sitting there trying. What your body want to do, you can't do it. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? Can we see it? I want to make sure. Does everybody understand? I want to make sure everybody understands what's going on, because this is right here. Everything that was just said, it's literally right here. You can see it. So this is a battle, and it's an inside battle within oneself. Your mind against your body. Your mind against your members. You see it. Law in your members, warring against the law of your mind. It's an inside battle. And all these other influences, might I say, you got spirits inside of people doing all these things, but then you got principalities, powers, rulers of darkness against spiritual wickedness in high places. Yeah, this world is, we already saw clear as day in Genesis 6:5. Genesis 6:5. This is not an isolated thing. This is everywhere. But the battle is won in the mind. This is what we have to understand. Let's keep going. See, we don't wrestle against flesh and blood. Let's look at something. So this is for anybody that might have children. Sirach 30:3. He that teacheth his son grieveth the enemy. We have to teach these young ones what the truth is. We have to make sure that they understand what's going on, that they understand what's right and what's wrong. And then whenever they make the decisions that they gonna make, those decisions that they gonna make, whatever they choose to do, if they choose to do something wrong and they know what's going on, that's on them. They have to face the consequences of their actions based on whatever it is. But he that teacheth his son grieveth the enemy. The flesh do not want to do what it's supposed to do. The flesh just want to feel good and weigh down the mind. It wants to war against the mind. It wants to sit there and just get into all this confusion. It cannot be so. When we sitting there, look, we're gonna see something too. Just enemy. Just enemy. Enemy can be tying you to evil man. It be tying you to the dragon, to the Leviathan. Look, we don't keep looking. Enemy is a foe, adversary. This is the key parts. A foe, enemy, adversary. It's gonna tie you to Satan. Satan don't want nobody to teach their kids what's right. Satan wanna kick it. Satan wanna sit there. Right there. You see, hate is gonna tie you to enemy. Why? The flesh don't want nothing to do with no spirit. Satan don't want nothing. He don't want nobody to be with the Most High. He want everybody to go where he going. So as we can see that an enemy is talking about a foe, it's talking about an adversary. A foe is going to tie you to Satan. That's the enemy. So when you teaching the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to the children, he's not going to be okay with that. But the ultimate defense that we have, we're going to pivot. Let's go to Proverbs 30:5. Can't get around it. Every word of God is pure. He is a shield unto them that put their trust in him. Gotta stay behind that shield. Because when the enemy attack, that shield is going to be up. That shield can't fall. That shield ain't going to fail. That shield don't fail. It don't fail. So we have to have hope. Okay? We see this. We see all these things. I hope everybody's understanding what's going on. But we're going to keep going. We're going to look at Sirach 30:8. It says, I'm going to just read B. It says, and a child left to himself will be willful. So it's going back to that part. Understanding the child. Being left alone. That child left alone, that's just that statement that was made. That child left alone is going to do what they want to do. But understanding that a child still don't want to doing that stuff, that's still wrong. It's still wrong. Because it says even a child in Proverbs 20:11, even a child is known by his doings, whether his work be pure and whether it be right. Even a child is known by his doings. So if he's doing something foolish, exactly the point. You'll know if he's doing wrong or not. So we wrestle not against flesh and blood. So the enemy that is grieved, we already saw that. That flesh want to pull you back into that law and the members too. But that child that isn't taught and is left to himself. You ever seen somebody try to break a horse? You trying to let me see something. I might see if I can find a video real quick. All right, I found a little video right here. Look. So breaking a horse. Why? So that you can ride the horse so that the horse can be ridden Look at this. So we saw that. It was AI at the end of it. But we saw that horse that was not broken. That horse trying to break the horse so that they can ride the horse. And that horse was fighting. But a horse not broken, becometh headstrong, is being compared to a child that's left to himself. So it shows the need and the necessity for disciplining the children. That shows the necessity of making sure that the child is trained up in the way that they should go. It's showing the actual necessity of that, because a horse not broken becoming headstrong. Okay, that horse was a young horse that we saw. So imagine if that horse was grown. If that was a grown horse and they tried to break that horse, that horse is going to be a problem. So when a child left to himself will be willful. We see that. You don't discipline a child growing up and do what's necessary. Yeah. If the child grow up and decide for some reason they want to go and be stupid, that's a whole nother thing. That's what they chose. Knowing what they should and shouldn't be doing. But when you don't do anything at all, oh yeah. You got them kids that be at the dang Walmart and it be some of them families up there. Randall, don't you do that now. And then all of a sudden, the dang child fall on the floor. I hate you. They start cussing at the dang mama. Y'all ever seen something like that? You can't tell me what to do. And they start cussing at the parents. Now, Randall, that's not nice. Shut up. Come on. Child gonna get tore up from the floor up. Right, you have to discipline your children. It ain't for you to be sitting there. Don't you be sitting there abusing no child. But when things happen, then there's disciplinary actions. Now we see, understanding though, but that child that isn't taught and is left to himself, they are going to be that stubborn horse that refuses to be broken. They're going to become rebellious. They're going to be doing all these things. But the child is still wrong for the evil actions, because even by his doings, he's known if his work is right. In David's mom's house, his mom was not always there because she would do various things but had to labor to provide for her son. This resulted in David being without his mom, and he was sometimes unsupervised altogether. There were times when the child felt hurt that his mom wasn't there. The child can even be put in this the child can even be put in a situation where the person that's taking care for them isn't really qualified to do so either. David being left with his uncle has autism. His uncle lacks certain functions to be able to perceive and understand things a certain type of way. Yeah, the uncle can cook food, but the uncle does not know how to take care of a child. The uncle had autism. David's uncle had autism. His mother was not there. His uncle had this. His grandmother was paralyzed from the neck down. So grandmother is bedridden. Uncle has certain things that he was born with that he had no control over, and the mom isn't there. We can see confusion, dysfunction, and all these things in the household. These are the circumstances that some people go through. These are the situations that some people are in, that they were in. But David, was he still wrong for what he was doing? 100%. Alone in his mind, he began to cleave onto evil things, doing things in secret, and now in rebellion, doing certain behaviors in secret. Doing these things in secret. Had something terrible happen at his dad's house. Now he doing stuff in secret. Sirach 23:19. Such a man only feareth the eyes of men, and knoweth not that the eyes of the Lord are 10,000 times brighter than the sun, beholding all the ways of men, and considering the most secret parts. So how many people have been caught up in something, and then they were sneaking around just to get into what they was trying to get into? Was sitting there trying to do stuff sneaky, do stuff in the dark. Then they develop these crafty ways. They start to develop these mischievous type ways. Why? Unsupervised. Why? Or just hard-headed, just rebellious. These things happen. Now you're starting to get into these things, and it's even worse. It's real bad when it comes to sexual perversion. Because now you trying to scratch an itch that was developed that should have never been discovered at all. Let's read this again. Sirach 23:19. Such a man only feareth the eyes of men, and knoweth not that the eyes of the Lord are 10,000 times brighter than the sun, beholding, remembering all the ways of men, and considering the most secret parts. Daniel 2:22. He revealeth the deep and secret things. He knoweth what is in the darkness, and the light dwelleth with him. Luke 18:17. For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, made known, neither is anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad. There was no hiding anything. They ain't hiding nothing. You ever sat there and was doing something secretly, but then for whatever reason, right after that, it feel like everything just started going left. You did something in private, then all of a sudden you got put through hell. You got put through some of the craziest things. You're like, what is happening in my life? What is going on with me? What is happening? And you wonder why. You wonder why. You wonder why. You can't hide nothing from Jehovah. Jeremiah 23:24. What did he say? Can any hide himself in secret places that I shall not see him, saith the Spirit of God? Do not I fill heaven and earth, saith the Spirit of God? He knows what's going on. He can see it. So then you wonder why. Oh, I thought I was doing this. Not even considering that what you did. You thought you was you thought you was smooth on that. And you wondering why all this stuff is happening. Shouldn't have been doing it. Should not have been doing it. The things David occupied himself with in secret, they were never hidden. And even though men couldn't see it, Jehovah sees all things, all the confusion. But also all the hurt, all the pain, and all the evil, all the circumstances, all the factors, all the reasonings, and all the thoughts. The child David was in mental captivity from a very young age. All these things brought him into a deep bondage of the mind. The child being stuck in a loop, being confused, and now chasing pleasure and hurting others in secret, including himself. By his own actions, feeling empty and poisoned within. These things are tragic happening to a child so young. And then the child becoming accustomed to that. Treating that as, it's just what life is about. It's just normal. The moment you think it's just normal, you jacked up. Child having to go through these things, wondering why all these things happen. Going through hurt. Finding out the hard way. Finding out the hard way. Jeremiah 2:19. A and B. Thine own wickedness shall correct thee, and thy backsliding shall reprove thee. Finding out the hard way, how what you was doing was stupid. Being haunted and tormented by the thoughts later on in your life. Flashbacks and all these different things, even nightmares coming in your mind based on what happened and took place because of something that you chose to continue to do. But without wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, how can you combat these things? How can you even overcome that without Jehovah? You cannot overcome anything without Jehovah at all. Keep going. Ephesians 4:17. This I say therefore and testify in the Lord, that ye henceforth walk not as other Gentiles walk, in the vanity of their mind. This is what young David was doing. He was walking in the vanity of his mind, the worthlessness, the emptiness of his own mind, thinking he can get away with something, doing stuff, thinking he was getting away with it. Then all of a sudden something just happened. All of a sudden something just happened. Could have been feeling like he was getting away with something for a long time, but then all of a sudden something would just happen out of nowhere. You can't get away with nothing. Can't. (18) Having the understanding darkened, being alienated from the life of God through the ignorance that is in them because of the blindness of their heart. What do? Oh, wait a minute. All right, we're going to go to Job. So we're looking at the blindness of the heart. What's going on in this blinded heart, right? Job 15:35. And then we're going to also add Isaiah 59:7. They conceive mischief and bring forth vanity, and their belly prepareth deceit. That's deep. That belly preparing deceit, right? Because the belly, when we sit here looking at that real quick, it's the metaphorical representation, the innermost parts of greed, the heart, emptiness, and appetite. The appetite goes back to this appetite. Their appetite prepareth deceit, because they doing everything to try to satisfy that, and it can't be satisfied. Their feet, Isaiah 59:7, their feet run to evil. Their feet run to evil. Their desires run to evil. Jump down here to part C. Their thoughts are thoughts of iniquity. We see that. Their thoughts are thoughts of acts of sins. Let's go to verse 8. The way of peace they know not. Let's go right here. And there is no doctrines and teachings in their goings. They have made them crooked paths. So we have to be removed from this way. Removed from walking in the vanity of the mind, our own thoughts. And we need to be changed in how we choose to see things moving forward. Because these things that happen, we often take on wickedness and normalize it and try to make it good. One is either taught a wicked way and takes a hold to it, or they try to go their own way and then take that way as good. And this puts one in a cycle of misery, because they want to stop feeling one way. Then they chase the thing that makes them feel empty all over again. They start doing all this crazy stuff. So as we do these sorts of things, these things don't do anything but bring more hurt. They don't do anything but bring more harm. And this is what young David did not understand at all. So he was doing much wickedness, much evil. We're going to go to 2 Esdras 14:20. We're going to start right here. It says, thus the world is set in darkness, and they that dwell therein are without light. Why? Because we trade. Man. Let me see. Let me see this. In Isaiah 5:20, this is what we do. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. See, the things that we get into, those things, it could be anything. See, we can sit there and get caught up in something, and we're raised up a certain way, and we're brought up into this type of system where we believe that what we're going through is good because of all the circumstances and situations and things that we find ourselves in and things going on around us, we then say that those evil things are good, and then that becomes normal to us. And once that becomes normal to us, then this becomes a huge issue, because then we become blind to what that evil actually is in the first place, and then think that the evil is just what life is all about, and it's not. And we can't do that, because that is what brings further destruction, because then that very evil that we deem it as good, we start to bring that evil to others, and then they start to look at that and they can take a hold of that, and it just makes everything worse. It just makes everything worse. Let's go to verse 51 of Isaiah 5. It says, woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes, their own understandings, and prudent in their own sight. This is what we do. This is the condition David was in. The environment that he was born into was corrupt, unstable, full of confusion. But he normalized it and just took it as life. To any that may have gone through a traumatic experience and was given an understanding or developed an understanding based on self to get through that. It's about understanding what's actually right in the sight of Jehovah and holding on to that understanding. This world is one without light. And we normalize what is wicked, and we think it's just how stuff is. And then we continue down that road as if it was good. We don't like being told what to do because we're accustomed to do what's familiar to us in this world. We have a choice to make. We have a choice to make. And it can be with anything. Anything that's against the ways of Jehovah that we thinking is good. We need to seek for all that to be removed. Anything that we thought was good. Don't matter what it is. And it can be deep within and we can't see it. Deuteronomy 30:19. I'll call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. We see that. Therefore choose life. Choose life. Verse 20. That thou mayest love, promise, trust the Spirit of God thy guide, and that thou mayest obey his voice, and that thou mayest cleave unto him, for he is thy life. Not whatever we came up with, not whatever we thought we was right, not whatever we wanted to do, not whatever we set up, not whatever coping mechanism that we developed, not whatever means of trying to understand that we came up with. We can't be wise in our own eyes. We can't trade evil for good and call evil good. We can't do that. Jehovah is our life in length of days. We want to live an eternal life with him no matter what. That's what we desire, to be able to have that life. So he is our life. Jehovah is our life, not whatever it is that we built. So therefore, we should take on the yoke and learn of him. Okay, this not in there. We gonna go to it. Oh. Yeah, we're going to go to it real quick. He said in Matthew 11:29, take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest under your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. He is that rest. That rest from all that confusion, from all that pain, from all that suffering, from all that burden. But those things that we know ain't good. Sirach 37:27 lets us know something. My son, prove thy soul in thy life, and see what is evil for it, and give not that unto it. So whatever it is that we thought was good, we got to remove that. We can't give evil to our soul. And that flesh is going to try to what? Weigh down the mind. It's going to try to bring us into that captivity. So those urges, those things that come up, those thoughts that may try to come in, that's not something that you hold on to. That's some of the flesh. That's another influence trying to creep in your mind and get you to go another way. Jehovah is our life, so we need to walk in his way and remove the understandings and things that we built up over time from whatever it is we've gone through. We have to understand that what we've gone through and learn from it and empty out the filth we've accumulated. So the thing with young David was that he just left things how it was, but took on that sickness and he didn't get the understanding. So we should seek out wisdom. Now that we're in the position that we are in now, being here in the truth and being older. be in any situations that we are in now to be able to understand that we've been brought here so that we can understand to get it right. So we should seek to understand what's going on. Ecclesiastes 7:25. I apply my heart to know and to search and to seek out wisdom and the reason of things. We need to understand why, what's going on, why these things happen, how these things happen. We need to see the reason of things. We need to search it out and seek out wisdom. It says right here, and to know the wickedness of folly, and even the foolishness and madness. But seeking it out for what? To know what? Why? To know what? The reason of things. Why is this? What is going on? Why? So we need to understand the reason of things. The things that we went through, all these things, and then seek for our understanding to be transformed, that we may not be burdened by these things anymore. So we're going to hit the last couple of verses. First, we need to do this right here, and it's a simple thing to ask. In Psalms 139, 23 and 24, search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts. We need to desire for him to actually look within us and help us to see if there's anything deep down, buried, tucked away that we just forgot about. Is there anything there? It says, and see if there be any wicked way in me. See if there be any wicked way in me. If there's anything wicked in there, if there's anything that ain't of you, if there's anything that ain't profitable, if there's anything that I'm not seeing, please help me to see it and lead me in the way everlasting, so that we could be set on the way of righteousness and truth, to have the true understanding, to not be bound by these things of flesh. So we go here. It says, therefore, if so be that ye will subdue your own understanding and reform your hearts, ye shall be kept alive, and after death ye shall obtain mercy. So we need to seek for him to help us to do that. We need to seek his help. Sirach 6:37. It says, let thy mind be upon the ordinances of the Creator, and meditate continually in his commandments. Well, there you go. He shall establish thine heart. We got to trust that. And give thee wisdom at thine own desire. We can't get better if we don't meditate on his word. We can't get better if we not being transformed and renewed in our minds. And it's the last verse of the teaching, Romans 12:2. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. So, my brothers and sisters, I really hope that somebody learned something from this lesson and really gained an understanding and was able to be richly edified by this. Anybody who has seen this teaching, look within yourself and ask the tough questions. Seek to be shown what's going on and seek that renewal. And if there's anything that's there that you might have been holding on to, once again, Sabbath Zooms, right after Pastor Michael, there's a Zoom that's open for questions. There's teachers back there you can ask questions to, and there's help that's back there. If anybody has experienced these things and are burdened by these things and are afflicted by these things in their own mind. So I hope somebody was richly edified by this lesson. This has been Brother Kahleial, and I say unto each and every last one of you, Shalom.